You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Dankman. Being a movie buff in Seattle feels a little unsettled right now. That's because there's been a lot of changes at SIFF, the Seattle International Film Festival, which has been the vanguard when it comes to all things movies here in the Pacific Northwest. The organization announced yesterday it was undergoing an organizational restructuring, including some layoffs. This follows a somewhat tumultuous year for SIFF. To get more on what's been happening and what it could mean, I am talking with Chase Hutchinson. He's a critic and freelance reporter who often covers SIFF for the Seattle Times. And I always turn to you, Chase, if we have news in the movie business around here. So really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
What do we know about the layoffs that SIFF announced yesterday?
So, what we know is that there were three core layoffs that SIFF officially announced yesterday. And the specific layoffs were of the corporate relations officer, associate director of audience development, and education manager.
And what does that mean for the organization? Like, why is this happening? Do we know?
It represents another challenging moment for the organization. Starting last year, they had significant layoffs as well in the summer, have been facing financial difficulties. Many sources I had spoken with had hoped that by the end of last year, they would be able to put some of that behind them. But this shows that there's still challenges that the organization is facing, that they needed to take these measures because there are also additional pay cuts that are being put in place for the remaining administrative staff as well.
I mean, we're talking a lot about the staffing issues here, but, beyond that, even in real estate, it's been a rather eventful year for SIFF. Can you kind of catch us up on what's been going on in the past 12 months or so?
So, yes, absolutely. What you alluded to in terms of real estate is that last year, SIFF ended its lease at the historic SIFF Egyptian, which had been previously closed due to some flooding that I had reported on. And people had hoped it would return, especially for the upcoming festival. It's often been a key venue for them. And so they're now down to three theaters: the SIFF Downtown, formerly the Cinerama, the SIFF Uptown, and the SIFF Film Center.
And we only heard recently that it won't return, right? I mean, it was like there was the damage, the Egyptian closed, but then just in the fall, it was like, no, the SIFF is not going to be working with the Egyptian anymore, right?
Currently, that is the status of it. I have spoken with people that other people want something to happen with this space, that there's still life to be had there, but it currently is not going to be with SIFF in the picture.
And what else has been going on over at SIFF that you think people should understand to kind of know what this current moment means?
There have been some leadership changes. There was the exit of their former executive director, Tom Mara, at the end of last year. And that was something with people I spoke with kind of a long time coming, and that they had again hoped that that could represent a moment of we're turning over a new leaf, we're getting a fresh start for the new year. But it's part of a bigger picture beyond any just one person or event, but part of a kind of structural. Arts organizations and independent theaters are facing a tough time. I had come on Soundside a little bit ago and talked with other folks about that. And so I won't revisit a lot of those things, but I would encourage people to go revisit that conversation, because at the conclusion of it, the thing I said is I'm going to be looking at this year is how the workers are impacted on all of this, because organizations like this live and die from the people putting in the work, oftentimes for very little pay and with a lot of kind of tough challenges. And we're seeing more of that this week.
SIFF is such an iconic part of the film landscape in Seattle, and it really makes me worry as a film fan myself. I go to a lot of movies, and that is not a typical thing for somebody my age, I think, to say nowadays, Chase. Like, I don't know if you've experienced that sensation of telling somebody you went to a movie in a theater over the weekend and they look at you like you're crazy, like you actually still go to the theater. But I do, and I love the theater experience, and SIFF has been like the guardians of that for so long. I guess just to take it piece by piece, these changes lately, what's the impact of losing the executive director, Tom Mara? Like, what did that mean?
That was primarily something that, as I said before, didn't have like a huge impact on the day to day. It more was just kind of a shift in perspective and morale. Many of the people I spoke with said that they had hoped that with his departure, and there's currently an ongoing search to find a new executive director, that this could be, we're gonna reset. We're gonna go into 2026 trying something new, trying to find a way to make this work. Because the other thing I want to say in response to kind of what you said at the first part, there are movies at SIFF that you can't see anywhere else.
Exactly.
And I want to put on my critic hat a little bit and shout some of those out, because I think if you care about SIFF and want to see it continue to remain in the city, you should probably go support them. Because just in this upcoming kind of month and beyond alone, there are films like No Other Choice and Marty Supreme that's playing. They're reopening The Secret Agent. They're showing Mona Fastfall, Testament of Anne Lee with Amanda Seyfried. They're showing the film Resurrection from Be Gone. They're showing this film called Obex in partnership with The Grand Illusion, as well as this film called Room Temperature and the Chronology of Water. The Room Temperature was John Waters' favorite movie, and Chronology of Water is the directorial debut of Kristen Stewart. These are films that I would say are worth going out to support and worth going out to see. It just is going to be challenging now with less people to make those happen. And then the only other thing I would add from my reporting yesterday is that there is currently going to be a cancellation of the youth film camp for this year, which was typically held in the summer. The intention I've heard is to bring that back for 2027, but for 2026, that will not be taking place.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor the whole, you must experience these movies in the theater, but I feel strongly that, I saw No Other Choice in another city. I was traveling over the holidays, so I was able to see it in another city. But when it comes to being in Seattle, like seeing The Secret Agent, the Brazilian movie, which is getting a lot of buzz about a Best Actor nomination for Wagner Moura, the lead actor there, and then potentially even maybe slipping into the Best Picture nominations at the Oscars, certainly will be high up on the list for foreign language picture. Being able to see that in Seattle in a theater is a very special opportunity that our city has because of this organization. And I don't know, you're a film snob yourself, not snob, I shouldn't say. You're a film fan, and obviously you're a critic and a reporter, so you're with me. I'm preaching to the choir here, but I mean, what would it mean if we lost that, Chase? Like I'm devastated by that idea, but at the same time I feel like I am the old man yelling at clouds, trying to hold back the reality that streaming will eventually kill us all.
Well, the thing is, I'm actually encouraged by youth. And I talked about this on the last Soundside as well, so I won't go fully into it. But when I was there seeing No Other Choice at a special 35 millimeter screening at the Uptown on Saturday night, I noticed there were a lot of young people, this new, for lack of a better word, letterbox generation, where there's community being built around going and experiencing a film together. I had already seen No Other Choice, but I wanted to go see it with friends, with other Seattle film lovers, because it's an electrifying thing to hear people laugh and gasp and react and feel a movie together that you just can't recreate on streaming. So yes, the streaming perspective has changed the way people engage with cinema, with art, but young people in many ways are the ones that are going out more so than anyone else. So you're not the old man yelling at cloud. We're the young people yelling to the horizons and saying, give us these movies. We want to go out and see them.
Park Chang-wook, the director there of No Other Choice, and it is a wild ride. It's one of those, it's not a horror movie by any stretch of the imagination, but there are moments that shock and also make you laugh, and it is such a roller coaster that seeing it with other people is part of the experience. It's part of the thing. Chase Hutchinson, I know that this has been sort of a doom and gloom. We're looking at the future of SIFF with some trepidation because of these layoffs and the restructuring announcement. What do we know about this organization's health going forward?
It is in a shaky place. That's for certain. And I've tried not to become always so doom and gloom about it, because there are still 3 theaters that are operating. Even as they're facing challenges, there are still people waking up every day trying to make things work. But it's going to be a really interesting 2026 to look and see how they continue to function. I think some of the big from talking with sources, stress tests of the health of the organization are going to be seen in the programming. You're going to be looking at the Noir City and seeing how that does, the film festival, sort of mini film festival they do. And then the upcoming SIFF big festival here in a few months. That's something they've said they're committing to doing, but it's going to be really an important test for the organization because this is the first festival that they've had after probably one of the most challenging years in the organization's history. And every person I've talked to, both who work at SIFF and in SIFF leadership, are committed and wanting to see the organization remain for many years to come. But they're in a place where that's a challenging question about what that will look like, what steps will be taken, and how it might contract in both the movies they show, the programming they have at the festivals, and how they create these experiences with people. Because everyone I've spoken with has said the mission is about these experiences, not just the movies, but the movies together. Because you can play a movie at home, but it just doesn't play as well as an opening night crowd or a buzzy, excited audience all engaging with it together.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what everyone is holding on to, but the health of the organization is in a tough spot.
I'm thinking of seeing Challengers last year at the Cinerama when that final triumphant scene, and I won't spoil anything, but there's an amazing moment of catharsis, emotional catharsis at the end of Challengers. And it was the opening night there at the Cinerama, and the whole audience cheered. Like we were part of the tennis crowd. It was so fun. I mean, you just can't duplicate that. The other thing I want to shout out for 2026 at SIFF is the Martin Scorsese Maestro of Cinema series, which is 10 Scorsese films. We are talking Taxi Driver to Goodfellas, Age of Innocence, one of my personal favorites, Wolf of Wall Street, The Irishman. Seeing the opportunity to see all of these absolute masterpieces, Raging Bull, in theaters is something that this cultural organization does offer. And, you can tell I'm completely, a partisan here when it comes to this stuff. Any final thoughts here, Chase, before we go about the future of film, really, is what we're talking about here with the Seattle International Film Festival announcing some restructuring and layoffs here. Any final thoughts about the future of film in Seattle?
I was going to say it's not just film in Seattle, but film shot in the region. Where you had mentioned the Martin Scorsese series, SIFF is doing a series called the Pacific Northwestern, where it is all films shot in the beautiful landscapes of the Pacific Northwest. And that includes Oregon and Washington State. It includes a Kelly Reichardt film, First Cow, which is
I loved First Cow.
It's one of the best American films of the last decade, if not more. And so that is what SIFF provides in many ways that your AMC and your Cinemark wouldn't, is something that is deeply attuned to place, to people. And it's the type of thing that you don't want to see go away. And while reporting on this and making it known is an important thing, the thing I'm always wanting to stress is go out to see these movies. If you're able, try and support, get memberships, tell your friends. That's the type of thing that needs to happen. And it's to your benefit. It's for your health. These are great all movies that you could see that are locally shown and oftentimes locally made that you maybe wouldn't be able to see anywhere else.
Chase Hutchinson is a freelance reporter. He's a film critic. He's been covering SIFF for the Seattle Times for a long time. Thank you so much. And maybe I'll see you at the Scorsese series, Chase.
I'll see you at the movies.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime right here online at KUOW.org, or of course on your favorite podcast app.